r/NoSleep. Posted by u/TroncdeNadal. Every kid leaves the park at sunset, except for one. Our village's park had been the go-to place for local kids to hang out for decades. It had picnic tables, a fountain, a slide, a seesaw, a pair of swings and a ton of hiding spots perfect for a good old game of hide-and-seek. What more could you ask for? A train station had once occupied its place circa the late 19th century, which remained in operation until World War II. After that, the terrain was left abandoned for many years until it became the village's iconic park in the early 1960s, and the rest is history. An afternoon spent in the park after hours of boring teachers and math exercises was an afternoon spent in paradise for my friends, and I emphasis on afternoon, because every kid in town knew what happened after 8 p.m. Or rather, who appeared. Every day after sunset, a silhouette that heavily resembled a little boy could be seen sitting on one of the swings. For adults, it was nothing more than an optical illusion caused by the shadows that nearby street lights casted onto the swings, but if you asked us children, there was clearly something else going on there. Most adults couldn't see anything at all there. When it came to teenagers, a bunch of them did manage to make out a blurry humanoid shape, but nothing else beyond that. However, several young boys and girls reported they were able to tell apart details such as the boy's hair and clothes. It was a cold November afternoon. It had been an awesome day. I was having fun at the park with my friends, keeping a beautiful crimson bracelet in my pocket I planned to give to my crush Anna later that evening when she would come to my house for dinner along with her parents, who had been friends with my parents since they had been our age. My house's doorbell rang. My mother opened the door and welcomed Anna and her parents in. I sighed as I stared at Anna with my eyes wide open, as if I was caught in a trance. She was beautiful, with her long brown hair adorned with a big red bow, with her bangs and the freckles on her cheeks that complemented her precious smile, not to mention she had an amazing personality, often helping me with my homework. I just knew we were made to be together. "Fantasizing about your crush, eh?" asked my older brother playfully. "What? She's not my crush. This has nothing to do with you," I exclaimed, but my brother rolled his eyes and smirked. "Yeah, right. Because you're totally not blushing right now," he sarcastically pointed out. I stopped talking, ashamed I had been exposed. My brother chuckled. "Don't worry, I'm going to hang out with my friends tonight. I won't get in your way." "Okay, you got me. I'm going to give her this," I said, putting one hand in my pocket. "Nothing, the bracelet wasn't there." "Is something wrong?" my brother asked after noticing the panicked look on my face. I nodded nervously. "I lost the gift I had bought for her. I must have left it at the park." "Dinner isn't ready yet, you might be able to find it if you go there now," my brother suggested. I checked the time, 7:50 p.m. "But, it's almost 8 p.m. I uttered, thinking about the infamous urban legend. My brother smirked. "Aaron, please. I don't blame you, every kid in town believes in him at some point, but I assure you the Shadow Boy is just an eerie light trick, he's not real." My brother had once believed in the Shadow Boy during his childhood back in the mid-1980s, but he became a boring, skeptical grown-up like the rest when he reached high school. His cell phone suddenly rang. "Well, my friends are calling. Good luck with your crush," he said before leaving the house. Anna, her parents, my parents and I sat down and started eating and chatting. Everyone was having a great time, but I couldn't stop thinking about the lost bracelet. I was seriously starting to consider my brother's advice. I had planned my declaration weeks in advance. I couldn't let it all go to waste. "I'm sorry, but I have to go. My teacher just sent me an important email." "I can help you if you have homework," Anna said. No thank you, I'm fine on my own, thanks," I nervously replied. And so, I grabbed a slice off the cake my mother had made for dessert. I put on my coat and rushed to the park. It was quite ironic. A few hours earlier the park had brought me joy and peace, but now it was a place of darkness and dread. It was quiet, too quiet for comfort. All I could hear was the sound of my own tiptoeing. I couldn't help but feel I wasn't alone. "Does that cake taste good?" A high-pitched whisper broke the silence, echoing through the night. I froze and frantically looked around for the source of the mysterious voice, but found no one. That is until my eyes were drawn to the swings. There he was, the Shadow Boy. "And your coat, is it warm?" I heard the voice again, only this time it had a clear origin. The Shadow Boy was talking to me. His whole body was completely black, everything about him, his skin, hair, shirt, shoes, he was as dark as the night sky above us, like a living shadow. to the point he would have been nearly impossible to spot if it weren't for the street lights that dimly lit the park. I stared at him speechless and frozen in place as he sat in one of the swings, immobile. "Who are you?" I finally managed to utter after having spent a minute considering multiple possible ways to react to him. "It's unpolite to answer questions with more questions. My mommy used to say that to me all the time." The shadow boy replied. "I'm sorry," I answered, desperately trying not to make him mad. I didn't know what he was capable of, and that was terrifying. I could feel the tension was making me sweat. "It's okay. You're someone I can talk to, and I like that. Why have you come here, though?" It was then when I noticed he was holding something pretty familiar in his right hand. My bracelet, and his bracelet. "I'm here for that. I'm afraid I need it. Can you please give it back?" I asked. "But I've just found it today. It's my new toy. I also needed to have fun. I haven't had fun in a while, you know? But you know what would be even more fun? Getting out of this park. But it seems I'm not allowed to do that, at least not without someone taking my place," the shadow boy said before looking at me in the face and smiling. I took a few steps back. I did not like where this was going. "But, you don't understand, it's for the girl I love. Please, you have to give it to me. If you want the bracelet, you can have it. But you'll have to stay here so I can get out of the park. I know, we'll play hide and seek. If you win, you can stay here with the bracelet. If you lose, you'll take my place without the bracelet, deal?" "You don't get it. The bracelet's not for me. I need to both have the bracelet and leave all at once." "The deal is sealed. All right, I'll start counting to 100 while you hide. 1, 2, 3. The shadow boy started counting. It seemed he couldn't care less whether I wanted to play or not. I started running as soon as he closed his eyes. Not running to find a hiding spot, but running to get out of there and save my life. It sucked that I couldn't get back Anna's bracelet, but I was smarter than that. I wasn't going to gamble away my life in a game of hide and seek with a ghost. "Where are you going?" "You have to hide inside the park." "Have the planes come back?" the shadow boy said right when I was about to reach the park's exit. I looked to my right and nearly had a heart attack when I saw the boy had left the swing and somehow teleported right next to me. I stopped running, fearing he would retaliate in some way if I kept going. "Only inside the park, understood? Please, forgive me. Also, what planes are you talking about?" "You see, back when there were trains here, I came to say goodbye to my daddy. He's a soldier who had to go stop some bad guys, you know? After he left I heard some weird noises coming from the sky and everyone started screaming and running away and a loud siren started playing. It turned out a bunch of planes were flying towards the train station," the shadow boy said. "And you didn't run away like everyone else?" "Why would I? I love planes. Plus, they made me laugh. Those pilots must have been pretty bad because they dropped their cargo. I did not manage to see what they dropped clearly, but I remember it was very big and heavy and loud. Then everything went boom. For some reason. The next thing I remember is waking up here, all alone," the shadow boy replied. "Anyway, where were we?" he added. "Oh, yes. I have to count to 100 again and you have to hide only inside the park, okay?" He returned to the swings and started counting all over again. I sighed in reluctance. The shadow boy had warned me. I had no choice but to oblige and play his game by his rules. I looked around for hiding spots. It's not that there weren't any hiding spots. I knew the park like the back of my hand. My friends and I had been playing hide and seek there for years. But the shadow boy was a spirit who had been there for decades. He probably already knew all of the hiding spots I knew. How do you hide from someone like him? I had to fool him somehow. I took out my coat and placed it behind a tree. I then ran to the opposite side of the park and hid inside a huge bush. I felt pretty cold without the coat, but it was a price I was willing to pay. I curled up into a ball and hoped for the best. The shadow boy stood up and began his hunt. I could hear him as he slowly but surely roamed the park with his eyes wide open with a playful smile plastered on his face. He even started humming at one point. The tension and dread I was feeling hidden inside the bush, desperately trying not to move a muscle as I heard him get closer and closer, cannot be put into words. The fact that it was a life or death scenario for me while he treated it like a fun game made that whole situation even scarier. "Can't hide from me," he yelled. I heard him stop dead in his tracks when he was at the center of the park. He let out a childish chuckle and started running. My heart was racing. Had he found me? I peeked out from inside the bush, expecting to see him rushing towards me. But instead, he was actually running towards the opposite side of the park, towards my coat. I couldn't believe it. My decoy had worked. I could see the exit from inside bush. I was relatively close to it, whereas the shadow boy was at the other end of the park. Maybe if I rushed to the exit now that he was distracted, perhaps I could make it. It was very risky. I still remembered he could teleport, but if I managed to get to the exit in time without him noticing, the thought of that was just too tempting. I peeked from inside my hiding spot one last time, to make sure he was still far away. The coast was clear, it was now or never. I hopped out of the bush and immediately sprinted towards the exit at full speed without looking back. "Hey, there you are. Come back here, cheater." I heard the shadow boy shouting in the distance. I was just mere inches away from the exit. I ignored his words and kept going. I finally managed to get out of the park, but I still continued running until it was no longer in my range of vision, just to make sure. I let out a sigh of relief when I arrived home. "I think you owe us all an explanation, mister," my parents said with frowns on their faces when they greeted me. I could explain, but you wouldn't understand, I said, exhausted and painting. "Oh, Aaron. Of course we understand, we also had an adorable love story of our own back in the day. So, did you manage to find the bracelet?" My parents replied, smiling. I raised my eyebrows in confusion. How did they know about that? "I'm sorry, bro. Everyone got very worried once they found out you had left the house. I got worried too when I came back and you still hadn't returned. I just had to tell them," my father said, breaking into the conversation. "Where's Anna?" I asked. "That's what we were about to tell you. She just left 5 minutes ago once she learned about the whole bracelet thing. She said she was going to the park to give you a pleasant surprise." My skin went pale when I heard that. I was indeed surprised, but the surprise was as far from pleasant as it could be. I rushed back to the park without a second thought. I ran even faster once my paranoid, nervous and terrified mind started conjuring a plethora of horrible thoughts and scenarios involving Anna and the shadow boy. I was beyond exhausted, but I had to keep going, for Anna. I finally arrived at the park after sprinting across the village like a maniac. "Anna! Anna!" I cried to the top of my lungs. I fell to my knees. What I saw left me in tears. If you visit my village today, you'll find that kids these days no longer speak of a shadow boy haunting the park, but of a shadow girl. The children that live near the park claim they can sometimes hear her crying and weeping. There are some that even say they've heard her faintly uttering a certain name, even though no one knows for sure who is she calling or why. But her appearance seems to be something practically everyone agrees on, a young girl with long hair and bangs, wearing a big bow on her head and a bracelet on her wrist.